after this show, I'm gonna be calling you up and say, hey Layne, I want to do a little bit more powerlifting. I need. I'm not saying I'm gonna get crazy and do a show or anything yet,
no,
but a meet. Oh yeah, a show.
We're not show. We're not show.
A powerlifting show.
Prancing around up there.
Oh, can we just scratch that? Can we pretend I didn't say that? No, a powerlifting meet, because it's like a real deal athletic event. But yeah, that's, you know, this year for me, it's about doing more athletic stuff besides get the show out of the way, the actual men's physique show out of the way, and then turn to triathlons, being an athlete again. Played college football, and I can appreciate that mentality when you're strapping it up in there, grabbing on and just doing your thing.
But that's what was always really fun for me is, you know, we do squat, bench press, then deadlift. Deadlift's the last one. You know, several times sitting in the back, waiting, knowing I had last deadlift. If I pull it, I win. If I don't, I lose. And that's a really cool feeling.
That's just you versus you there at the end.
Yeah,
it's just like you control your own destiny.
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling. So a lot of pressure, but I like that sort of stuff.
And so you've been doing now powerlifting longer than bodybuilding almost.
I did bodybuilding from 2001 to 2010.
Okay.
I started powerlifting in 2009. So I did crossover.
About the same now.
So about the same, you know,
and you can do both. I like this because that's where, you know, we did a little, you know, not necessarily CrossFit, we did a lot more function movements. We've been getting into more mobility and functional space, whether it's single arm dumbbell, snatch and things like that. But I like the fact that you train both. Like you could do both and still step on stage.
Yeah, and I mean, actually powerlifting made my physique better. You know, like my legs and back were things that needed to improve for bodybuilding, and they really improved. And I think what made a big difference for me was in the off seasons from bodybuilding, you know, as a natural bodybuilder, progress is so slow. Like from the time I won my pro card, 4 years later I stepped on pro stage, I added 3 pounds of stage weight.
Gotcha.
You know? So it's such a grinding, slow process. You don't see it happening, and so it's very easy to get discouraged and get bored with your workouts. Totally. So when you've got powerlifting and you're moving towards a meet and you can see the weights getting bigger and bigger each week, it gives you that like positive reinforcement. And for me, it made me help me train harder to give me something to work towards.
And I'm sure you see this, and I wanted to ask you this because I'm sure you see this all the time with people. Myself personally, even working with Layne 4 years ago, I would get done with the show, and if I didn't have another one immediately coming up, I lost sight of kind of a specific goal. So the goal is always to look good, look good, look good. Well, what ends up happening is you're not gonna ever look better than you did on stage. So you need to have a different goal. You can't live year round at that 4 or 5%. So what happens? You eat, you feel crappier about yourself, but your body's not supposed to be that lean year round. So by concentrating on something else, the body kind of just takes care of itself. No, you're not going to be 4 or 5%, but you're not going to want to sit there and binge eat because it's no longer about how you look, it's performing into the gym. And so it's kind of the same mentality. He has his powerlifting. I've never really got into powerlifting. For me, it's you know, Spartan races or a half triathlon or a half marathon, but the mentality is the same thing. Like, I want to look a certain way on stage. After that, it's no longer about how I look. It's about being an athlete and performing. And I think the best way to do that is having set numbers in the gym and trying to go after those.
Yeah,
it keeps it fun.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, that goes back to goal setting, right? Like, you know, shows, especially again, if you're drug free, like it's so hard to gain muscle. So looking at, you know, you may need to take, if you're competing every year, you're not gonna make progress. You got to take two or 3 years off or a year off. And so during that time, what happens is, like you said, people, they're so focused on the physique, and all of a sudden that kind of goes away, and they don't have any other goals.
You get depressed.
Right, exactly, and they start training hard, and they kind of give up on food. So, you know, when I finished my last bodybuilding show in 2010, my last natural pro show, I immediately had my powerlifting meet picked out. You know, 6 months later, I'm like, all right, I'm going to put on this much weight. I'm going to go to the meet. And yeah, was it kind of sucked to let the physique go a little bit? Yeah, of course it did. But when I was crushing weights in the gym because I was putting some weight back on and some muscle back on, you know, it felt good.
Right.
I could focus on that as opposed to...
You were winning in a different area.
Yeah, so I'm not saying everybody should go out and do powerlifting, but have, you know, you want your long-term goal, but you also want to have that carrot on the end of the stick that keeps you, okay, what am I doing in, you know, you want goals for your week, for your month, for your 6 months, and for your year. You know what I mean? And maybe even for 5 years. But if you only got the 5-year goal, it's going to get really disheartening because you're going to feel like you're failing the entire time until you get there. So always have little short-term goals to check off along the way.
I love that. I love that, because then all of a sudden you're patting yourself on the back every couple of weeks when you're hitting your you know, your micro goals, we'll call them. You know, you have that huge goal, but then there's that, I think, and people, the biggest, I think, the reason people don't succeed on their goals, because like you're saying, they're so huge that it's hard to hold on to them when week to week they're not seeing that progress that they might want to see. So it's huge for that.
And it's a slow grinding process, or whatever it is. You know, you're starting a business. You want to become big on YouTube. You want to become a pro bodybuilder, or whatever it is, pro men's physique, pro powerlifter, whatever it is. That's such a long process, and we know what it takes to become very proficient in something, an expert. It's 10,000 hours. It's about what it is, a purposeful practice, not just practice, purposeful practice.
10,000 hours is a lot.
10,000 hours is a lot. You're usually talking about 10 years,
Yeah.
right? So, and that's a long time. And that's about how long it took me to become a pro after I started lifting my first weight, right? So you've got to have those little goals along the way. And you also, what I see a lot in this industry too, is guys, and women too, they never give themselves credit, right? They'll do something and they'll go, okay, on to the next thing. And it is important to be on to the next thing, but it's also important to go, you know what, I did a good job. Because otherwise, if you never reward yourself like that, it's hard to, I mean, you don't feel that sense of satisfaction, you know? So like after
I think that's actually kind of my issue at times. It's time to take a step back.
Drive, you know, but I made myself after Worlds in 2015 where I got the silver medal and I got the world squat record. I remember I was out on my boat, I was fishing, and I just sat back and I was like, man, Layne, it was like 2 weeks later, I'm like, you did a good damn job, man. That was the best you could have done.
And then
good job,
naturally,
you know?
though, then it's going to, all of a sudden, you're not going to force yourself back into something too early and feel like you're grinding all the time.
Right.
You're kind of taking the break, patting yourself on the back, and then naturally what happens is
Made me
you get
feel
the
good.
motivation. Yeah.
I felt good, and I was like, all right, now on to the next thing.
Now on to the next thing.
Exactly.